Hey everyone, it's Maury Curtis Dunbar here in Painted Studios in beautiful Brookfield, Illinois. We're just outside of Chicago. I hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I'm sorry, I'm seeing all the crap that's behind me in here because we've been gone for a couple of days. I had 3 days off, and that meant that all of this mess that I normally try to tidy up, it's right behind me. And actually what I love that's right behind me, my air conditioner, because it's 1,000,000 degrees out and I'm melting. Okay, so today I'm going to kind of get right into it as quickly as possible, although I need a sip of coffee. I haven't even gotten that far this morning, believe it or not. I haven't even had coffee. Oh, thank you. We're going to discuss all kinds of projects, but I wanted to share this with you. We now carry heat transfer vinyl. This is something you can cut it, put it in your Cricut cutter, and then weed it out and apply it to fabric so that then you can apply foils over it. And sorry, I was trying to reach a foil and it's of course way out of my reach. You can then apply foils over it. Sorry, somebody's messaging and I forgot to turn my messages off. And press an iron on it and you get a perfect cut. So the first part of this live today, I'm going to show you how you use it with your Cricut or your other cutters and come up with a very basic design and show you how you weed it out. Now, I don't have one of these things, but everybody tells me that they're little finger LED lights that are like basically on a silicone band that you can use to hold down to the surface while you're cutting, and this will make more sense later. And it helps show up the lines a little better. I don't have one of those. So we're gonna learn it all from the beginning just with me. And hopefully I don't screw it up, but if I do, now you'll learn the hard things that I had to learn before you test it on your own vinyl. We do have this listed. It is called Heat Transfer Vinyl Adhesive. And it comes in 3-foot rolls, and the rolls I think are $12.95, and you can cut and place this however you want for your cutters. Now I have a Cricut Maker, and I get 2 different size pads with it. This is the low tack 1 square foot pad, and then I have a 2 linear foot one. It just helps when I need to cut a longer design. Hi Manetta, nice to see you. All right, so we're gonna flip down here. I've already pre-cut a piece, and we're gonna go through this on my computer with Cricut so you can see how I figure all of this out. Down we go to my, now this is gonna be awkward because I have to type on an angle. You're gonna have to forgive me, and let's see if I can get a better angle between me and the camera. And okay, so if you look back here, there's my Cricut. Plugged in, it's got a cord that feeds into the laptop and into the USB port. And then when you install the software, you can put a shortcut to your desktop right there, and this will eventually open, except I've probably touched it too many times and it doesn't want to do it now. So, oh, no, I was lying. It opened. So we got to let it warm up. It may ask me to log in, so I'm going to have to turn it back around so I can actually type my login. I don't know. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it just automatically remembers me. It's doing my updates, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I didn't do this beforehand. Fortunately, it's not a long update. And I get updates because I subscribed to their image membership, which actually gives me access to thousands of images. Oh my God. I'm sorry, everybody. I had no idea this was going to do this to me. I should have opened this up before I went live. But this is honestly what happens constantly, is that you open a computer up and then all the install stuff starts, and you have to do all the updates and the downloads. So here we are. Okay, finally it opened. Okay, so you'll see it says, welcome Maury home. These are all of my previously, well, that's not all of mine. I don't know what the heck some of this stuff is. These are my projects. This will give me Cricut access projects, ready to make projects, infusible ink, blah, blah, blah. We're going to ignore all of that. That's just more stuff. And so then once you get in here, it has the ability to do your machine setup and your calibration, blah, blah, you know, all that stuff too. I'm not bothering with that. I've done it all, so I'm going to go to Canvas. And that gives me all kinds of options, templates, projects, images, text, shapes, or things I want to upload from somewhere else. So I'm going to start with new, and we're going to make this pretty simple. Let's do something that says summer. Okay, that's going to search the 100,000 Cricut images. Some of them you will have available to you. Some of them you might have to buy. But we've got some really nice scripts. That Summer Love one is very cute. I'm only looking for, okay, this is another thing. It'll ask you about art type, cut only, draw only, print only, score. You want cut. Why? Because you're not going to draw on this vinyl, you're going to cut. So that's going to cut back the number of results and make your life a little easier when you choose. Okay, this summer one is cute as can be, so we're going to do that one. And since I'm subscribed, I don't have to pay for it again. There we go. It's going to show up. Now, what this is telling me is that it is 3.1 inches by 2.5. Well, obviously, I can manage to make that a little bigger. So if I touch it, now my laptop here is touch screen, so this is going to be different. You might have to do this with a mouse, but with my touch screen laptop, I can explode the size of this. And how do I know how big to make this? Well, I know my cutter is 12 inches wide, and it's basically a foot deep for what I'm setting up here, so I know I can't go too crazy. And that little X will blank out the screen, but what I'm doing up here actually is I'm moving it up a little higher just to give myself a little more room on either side. So I've got almost 9 inches wide here. Let's let me scroll down. It's really easy for me to kind of zip over things. Okay, we can make it just a little bigger by using this arrow button. And over here, this will tell me how wide and how high these images are. And I could have manually adjust it like I'm doing now, or I can go in and adjust it with the numbers. I'm just trying to get it about 10 inches wide. And that's too big, that's a little over 11. Let's see. Come on. Work for me, darn it. Okay, that's still just about 11 wide. It's 10.5. And I'm reading this number right up here. It's telling me the inches in width. It's just over 10, that's good. And then I click on, and you'll see right here, it'll say cut, and it'll show you, because you can cut in multiple layers, that sort of thing. Hey Tracy, nice to see you here. And then we're gonna hit make it, okay? So now what I've got, it's gonna show me my material size and the cut here. And I just check to make sure it's positioned the way I want it to be, because if I want it to move a little bit so it's center in the cutting, it could make my weeding a lot easier. So I might shift it around on the diagram. And then I'm gonna hit continue. Now, it's not reading my device. That's because I forgot to turn it on. There we go. Turned it on. Now it's connecting. And it'll show you right up here, Maker, 3 USB. It'll tell you what port your thing it's in. So we've got that going. So what this is showing me here is I have to pick my material. So I've been using premium vinyl and holographic vinyl. I need to do, let's see. Heat. not sure how this is going to read on here, so, and of course I'm not typing well because I've got it to the side. I can't type for, sorry folks, I got to turn this a little bit just so I can type. I cannot type on an angle. God love me, I just can't. Okay, I typed in heat transfer vinyl adhesive, and we're going to see what that comes up with. No results found. Okay, so that means I have to go back and find an appropriate vinyl. So I'm going to drop down my categories, which is vinyl, because that's what we're cutting on. Non-adhesive vinyl, non-adhesive vinyl. Adhesive. So we're going to try this because I really don't know what one is going to be the one of choice, because this is going to be fairly thin, so it doesn't have to go through as heavy a thickness as it might with regular cut adhesives. Okay, dry erase vinyl. Giving me all these gauges, which is going to be too heavy. So we're going to try stencil vinyl because that's relatively thin, and then we're going to leave it at the default setting. Turn this back. You have a pressure setting here, so you can choose more, default, or less. So we're going to start the first time with default because we might actually need to go less. I'm not sure because you're doing this the first time with me. So we're going to put that in there. So now we're going to switch this over this way. I'm going to move my laptop to the floor for just a second so I can show you how we handle this next. Then here is, okay, so here is our adhesive pad. You can buy plenty of these. I have like 3 or 4. The first one, this is actually the first one that I ever had, and I've trashed it. I've dropped stuff on it. I drop it on the floor. You can see I've spilled on it. I actually took this over to the sink with a Japan scraper, turned on the water, and scrubbed all the crud off of there so I could continue to use it. Now this vinyl transfer adhesive, normally with vinyls, you put the shiny side up when you're doing it, but you're actually going to put the dull side up. And there's a very specific reason, and it's because this dull stuff, that's the adhesive, and that's what you want to cut. So now I'm going to square it up into the center here, which of course it doesn't want to go. And you can put these mats top or bottom into the cutters. I knew I was doing something a little funny. It wasn't laying right. So I've cut approximately a square foot. We cut these by hand, so it might be off 1/4 of an inch, which is why I try to shift my center on things to make sure I've got plenty of cutting space. Now, understand, you can put these mats in here this way or this way. You cannot put them in this way because it doesn't fit through the feed. So, just so you know that's a bit of information that helps. Now we burnish this. You can take anything. I'm just not looking for something with a sharp edge. I had a burnisher sitting over here, and of course everything's out of my reach. Here we go. And I'm going to take it and lightly burnish it. I don't want to do any damage to the vinyl itself, to the adhesive, and then we're going to put it in here. And did I just do something dumb and unplug my computer? I bet I did. All right, well, somehow I turned the power off on that. Hang on just a second. I gotta bring my laptop back up. And in doing silly things, there we go. Gotta plug everything back in. You know, you move a laptop around and you can do all kinds of stuff. And I actually knocked myself out of my laptop. Oh well, wouldn't be the first time. Okay. All right, so now we're connected again. It's reading me. Let's see. Why is this doing this today? It doesn't want to read. In the USB port. There. And of course, I just undid it again. Let's try turning it on. I knock plug out. I could very well have. That's what I did. I knocked the extension cord loose. There we go. Sometimes you just have to figure out where all your connections are. Okay, so now you can hear the cutters turning on. Okay, cut, continue. No, cut. There we go. Now, why is this doing this to me, folks? Oh, goody. Cancel that. Yes, let's try going back. All right, so here we go. I had to go back a little bit, so we needed to continue. It's picking up my machine. I got to reselect my vinyl. Sorry, everybody. That's what happens. Vinyl, done. It's not what I wanted. Browse materials. Why did I do that? Vinyl. And then I think we chose stencil vinyl before. Done. We're going to leave it setting at the default setting. Okay, so now what's happening over here is this light is blinking. So that's the first thing. And this, sometimes you need to hold on to this to get the feed right. But you're going to push this and it is going to feed it into the machine. It has to feed into the machine properly or it's not going to cut right, because if it doesn't get in this far, it's going to want to start cutting way higher up and you're not going to be happy. So press the Cricut button and that feeds it in and it's going to do all the cutting and it'll do it automatically. And over here we're going to look. This tells me right here how much of the cut we have going. So this is going to take a minute because we chose an interesting design. And this is what I listen to when I do this all the time. Now, while that's cutting, you don't need to look at that. We're going to scroll up and talk to me. Now, I am going, you don't need to see me that big either. Let me see if I can get the screen smaller. So, what the next thing is that I'm going to be offering on our site is limited edition vinyl transfers for you to order. You'll have your design already cut and you can use that as your adhesive on a t-shirt or anything else. So that will make more sense once you see what we're doing here, but we will be offering those stencils, single-use adhesive stencils, vinyl transfers. I shouldn't call them stencils. I have a bad habit of calling them stencils. They're single-use adhesive vinyl transfers for fabric. And that's what we're cutting now. That's what we'll be able to create for you if you want them. Sorry, I rolled back too far, sent a light going flying. All right, we're gonna see where we're at with the cut. And it looks like we're at about 68%. So that's good. Now, the other thing we're gonna be doing for you, gosh, everything wants to be challenging. It's Tuesdays are my Mondays, so there we go. You got me zoomed back out a little bit. If you have SVG files, which are specifically files for these cutters, if you have SVG files and you want us to cut them for you, We can cut them up to 1 foot wide and 2 feet long. All you have to do is send them. We'll cut it, we'll send it back to you. You can even ask for it to be weeded or unweeded. We won't change anything for you. So that's a new service we're offering now that the heat transfer vinyl is in. I know that's not going to make a lot of sense to you. We'll keep discussing it, and once you see how this is used, you'll get it. So this live is using it through the cutter. Later today, I will be doing another live. We'll be using it on fabric, and you're going to see how the transfer works. All right, so we are 100% cut. Here we go. The button's flashing again. Let me see if you can see that. The button's flashing again. You push that button, it shoots the whole thing out. Now, I'm going to close my laptop. I'm going to set it to the side. We're going to close up the Cricut, turn the power off, and we're going to go back over here. I'm going to raise the camera so that you can see. Now, this is going to be really, really challenging for me to see because I don't have one of those little side lights like that people were talking about. Now it's a little LED side light. Let me see if I can get this to work a little bit for me. So take it here. You might not be able to see it, but I can. Okay. Now the other thing I forgot to tell you, because I did it wrong myself, but I'll do, Jennifer, when I learned this from Jennifer, she did it wrong herself the first time too. You need to mirror the image if it's got lettering, because what this is going to do, I'm so smart, because this goes like that. So I put in summer over here, and you might be able to see it a little bit on the back, but now it's going to read, it'll read great for you, but it's going to read reversed for me. So let me take a look at my image and see here where I'm pulling the adhesive. All right, I'm going to stick this back on here because this can make the weeding much simpler. All right, now I need one of my pickers. That's not a picker. So the first thing we're going to do is start pulling out the adhesive from the back. Now you'll see what I'm talking about with the adhesive. It's a very thin film, and the weeding's going to take a little time. And this is what you're peeling off. This is actually the adhesive. So you only keep on the backing film which you want to transfer. It's like doing any other adhesive or vinyl, but this is not easy it's not a fast peel off. It's not supposed to be. It's adhesive, so it's a little sticky and a little stretchy. But you have to get all the adhesive off that you're not going to use. And it's not easy to pull up. It's a little bit of work. But that's good, because then if it's sticking to this vinyl that well, think of how well it's going to stick to your clothing once you heat transfer it. All right, I think what I want is a scissor, and I'll probably do this because I'm kind of crunching some of this stuff up, and it's not going to help me later on. You can see it's stretchy. This is all adhesive. So for the first time you use something, I'm a little more generous in my sizing and my cutting and all of that stuff because I haven't gotten a good feel for it. Now I know I might be a little more careful in my placement because, again, this is not an expensive material. It's not hyper expensive, but it's also not cheap. And I don't like the fact that, you know, all this stuff that I'm tearing off, I'm basically throwing away. And that's a lot of glue in my brain says that's a lot of glue to throw away. So normally when I do my cuts, I have very carefully. I'll often do more than one image on a cut so that if I need to, if I can get better use out of my vinyl. It's probably the same thing I'll do with this. Oh, fluff, fluff, fluff. That's a lot of adhesives. I don't like wasting things. It's a personal thing. If it doesn't bug you, then it's not a big deal. So here we go. There's that design cut out. Okay. So now I have my whole design weeded out. Now, since this is in selfie mode, this is reading backwards to you. And honestly, it should be reading correctly to you because I forgot to mirror it. Why? Because then you turn it over and set it on your surface. Now, this is going to read great on camera, but it's going to look really, really stupid in person since it's in reverse. So I'm going to set this aside for now. And I'm gonna grab a t-shirt in a little while and we will use a t-shirt that I'll just use for lives so that the summer reads the other way. So it reads correctly to you guys, even if it doesn't read right to me. And in a little while, because I gotta put all this machinery away, we'll do a live later this afternoon showing the heat transfer. Unfortunately, I can't pull all of the tools out all at once, and quite frankly, it's 1,000,000 degrees in here right now, so I need to cool it down before I put an iron on. So instead, we're going to show you some other stuff. We got a lot of lives today. I'm going to be live on and off all day today, I think. Let me put all this. This is all adhesive. So I'm going to throw that away. So let's come back down here. So Saturday, or Friday, you saw me foil cups like this, and you saw me do the basic information on how to get to this point. Well, we moved a little further forward with this on Saturday on a video. So I bejeweled the top. Look how pretty that is. With flat back jewels, you saw me start some of that. And I did this wine cup with these iridescent ones, and they're so pretty. So I still have another one of these to do. So I figured we're just going to keep going on this. And I'm even going to foil a vase. Why? Because it's a vase I had sitting in my cabinet, and it was do something with it or get rid of it. So the first thing we're going to do with this piece, we're going to apply our Artsyville foil adhesive and then let it dry for about an hour. And you can see I'm working out of the last of a can, and it does like to dry up around the edges. So I just stuck my finger in very drying out adhesive. However, normally I don't dip into the can, but I'm down at the end of it. I usually pour it out. This adhesive does not level. So be prepared that however you apply it, you're going to have method of application marks. Method of application meaning brush, roller, sponge, your nose, your toes. However you put the foil adhesive on here, you're going to see excuse me, remnants of how you applied it. I'm going up here, getting around the edge. And as you notice, I'm not going up around here because this is a screw down lid. And I just got these little things at Target. They were like $5. They're calling them thermal soup cups, but personally I thought they were just too cute and make, you know, great little treasure boxes. All right, and the lid you saw the other day, we painted, put the set coat on it, taped around the edges to make sure that it was clean. And then we're going to put the foil adhesive on here as well. We're going to do all kinds of interesting stuff today. I'm going to be pouring epoxy. I'm going to be using the heat press to transfer vinyl. The epoxy is probably my last one of the day because usually I like to pour the epoxy in the afternoon, set the timers on the turners, and walk away until the next morning and come back and deal with whatever cleanup is left over. So we're gonna have a very busy, very messy table today. All right, so I've put the adhesive on that. That's gonna sit and dry for an hour. I'll put this to the side, and we're gonna go with what we need to do with glass. Now glass, by nature, doesn't like to be painted on. I mean, you can paint on it, it just doesn't like to stay. So Faux Effects came up with an amazing product called Etch. It is a high bonding water-based primer. Now mine is in a little jar because I dropped my other jar and cracked the lid. So I just poured the last of this one jar into here. It can be thinned with water, no problem. I rarely thin it because it is a very thin primer on its own, you can see. Hey Carolyn, I can't see, I'm looking at you funny, your name funny. Hi Carolyn, it's good to see you. Sorry about mispronouncing your name, I just have things on angles I can't read. So we're gonna try this first. Now this has been washed repeatedly to make sure it's good and clean. But it's got a funky texture, so sanding it may not help me much. So we're going straight in for the Etch, and that'll grab on here, no problem. Now, once you've applied your Etch, it needs to cure 24 hours. Do not skimp on this cure time, and don't put it in a heater, don't blow a hairdryer on it. It needs its natural cure time to properly bond with the surface under here. I have tried rushing it and it has been a dismal failure. So I gotta work it in. And especially with textures, you have to go in all directions. Now when I'm showing you on a vase, you can do it on darn near anything. You do it on a window, you can do it on anything glass that you have, it'll work. You can make decorative finishes on your windows. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a house where for years we didn't realize there was a window in a bank of 3. It looked like there were only 2 windows until my mother stripped the paint and wallpaper off the walls and discovered that they had boarded over and painted over a 3rd window. And, you know, she was of a mind that we should just paint the other window. And we talked about it when she was alive. She's not, you know, unfortunately she's not with us anymore, so it's a moot point now, but we discussed all the products, and the only reason we never did it is I didn't know about Etch then, because I couldn't tell her of anything that I knew would guarantee the bond to the glass. This will make a nice bond to the glass, and you can see I'm working it just because we've got so much texture on here and I don't want to miss anything. All right, so I'm going to set that down. I could do the bottom, I'm not going to. Why? Because vases get wet, and eventually all of that wet on the bottom, no matter how well primed and sealed on water-based paint, can cause it to lift from the glass. So we're going to set that aside. Let's flip this up. All right, everybody. That is the end of today's first live. We covered how to use Etch. I've shown you how to use our wonderful heat transfer vinyl adhesive in your Cricut, and it works the same way for silhouettes or Cricut, the Cricut Bluetooth, anything. It works basically the same. You just have to understand your machine. If you don't know your machine, take some time and practice before you put an expensive material like the vinyl through it. And we'll be back in an hour or so to be doing more fun stuff, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.